Welcome back to West Best Media. Today we're going to talk about something extraordinary that happened in West Africa. Burkina Faso asked the French troop to leave. Mali did the same. Niger did the same. Chad ended its defense cooperation agreement with France. And Senegal ended France's permanent French military base present after more than 6 decades. 5 different governments, 5 different leaders, 1 former colonial power. That isn't a coincidence. So here's the question. What changes? Was France's tragedy no longer delivering the result these governments wanted? Were these countries simply reclaiming greater control over their own security and foreign policies? Or was something much bigger reshaped in West Africa? Whatever the answer is, it changed the region. And if we want to understand why all this happened, we have to begin with one country, and that's Burkina Faso. But before we begin, tell me, what country are you watching from? I always enjoy to see where these conversations are taking place. And if you enjoy this documentary that investigate the evidence instead of repeating headline, subscribe and join our growing community now. Now let's begin. To understand what happened, we first have to understand France's mission. France entered the Sahel with a clear objective: to defeat terrorists, support government under attack, help restore stability. On paper, that sounded like the right strategy. Thousands of French troops were deployed. Major military operations were launched. Senior extremist leaders were eliminated. Local forces received training. French soldiers fought in some of the toughest conditions anywhere in the world. Many never came home. Their sacrifice was deserved recognition. But here's where the story changed. If the strategy was working, why did the insecurity continue to spread? Why did the public confidence continue to fall? And that's why Burkina Faso eventually decided France's military should end. Because countries didn't normally ask an ally to leave if they believe that ally is solving their problem, or solving the problem. Was Burkina Faso making the wrong decision? Or was it seeing something France wasn't seeing? Many analysis point to the collapse of Libya in 2011 as one of the events that accelerated instability across the Sahel. But this documentary isn't about Libya. It's about what happened after France spent nearly a decade trying to stabilize the region. Yet Burkina Faso concluded another part was needed. So once again, what changes? Then another question began to bother me. If France believed its strategy was working, why continue trying to rebuild influence in the country that had already asked it to leave? Because when a strategy succeeds, government usually asks you to stay. They don't ask you to leave. So what happened? Was this simple about terrorism, or had the debate become much bigger? Security, sovereignty, economic independence, national pride, are all of those things together? To answer that, we have to look at what changed inside Burkina Faso after Captain Traoré took power. When Captain Traoré became Burkina Faso leader, he inherited a country already facing enormous challenge. No one seriously disputed that. The real question is, what did he do differently? What did he do differently? He didn't ask the French to return. He didn't continue previous approach. Instead, he spoke about sovereignty, economic development, and economic independence, mining reform, agriculture, industrialization, and keep more of Burkina Faso wealth inside Burkina Faso. Supporters call it a new beginning. Critics call it a gamble, because changing a country direction is one thing. Provided it worked is something very different. Then came the first real test, not on the battlefield, not at an international summit, but inside Burkina Faso itself. The government introduced the patriotic bond. No one could force a citizen to invest. No one could order them to participate. They had a choice, and the response was surprised many observers. The bond was oversubscribed. The people commit their own money. That doesn't prove every Burkina Faso supported Captain Traoré. It doesn't guarantee every reform will succeed. But it tells us something importantly. Confidence, whether justified or not, had become part of the story, because the people really invest in the future they didn't believe in. So now we arrive at the question that matters the most. Has this new direction produced better result than the old one? Because governments aren't judged by speeches. They are judged by outcome. Before we compare the result, I want to ask you, and I want to hear from you, based on the evidence so far, do you think Burkina Faso made the right decision by ending the French military presence? Or would you have chosen a different path? Leave your answer in the comment. Now, let's put both strategy to test. So, has Burkina Faso's new direction actually produced a different result? Let's start with security, because this is where the debate becomes more intense. France had nearly a decade. Captain Traoré has less than 4 years. Supporters of France argue that terrorism remains a regional problem that no single country can resolve alone. Supporters of Captain Traoré argue that Burkina Faso has regained territories, strengthened its armed force, and expand local defense initiative and take greater control over its security decision. Both arguments deserve to be heard, because security remains Burkina Faso's greatest challenge, and history hasn't written that final chapter yet. But security isn't the only one measure of success. Let's look at the economy. For years, conversation centered almost entire on security. Under Captain Traore, the conversation began to change. Mining reforms, agriculture, industrial development, local manufacturing, keeping more of Burkina Faso's natural wealth inside Burkina Faso. Whether every reform succeeds remains to be seen, but one thing is difficult to ignore. The country priority has changed. The focus shifted from dependency towards self-reliance. Then came sovereignty. Perhaps the biggest change of all. French troop departed. Burkina Faso began making decisions based on its own priority. It strengthened cooperation with Mali and Niger. It helped establish the alliance of the Sahel. Supporters see that as a historic turning point. Critics question whether it can succeed over the long term. Only time will answer that question. And finally, public confidence. France left amid growing public dissatisfaction. Meanwhile, Captain Traoré continued to attract large public gatherings. The patriotic bond drew strong participation from citizens and investors. Support is clearly not unanimous. No government enjoys unanimous support. Many Burkinabe appear willing to support a different version for their country and a different vision of the future. So, after looking at the evidence, at this time, to answer the question we started with, here is where opinion stops and the comparison begin. We have looked at France's strategic. We have looked at Captain Traoré's strategy. Now, it's your turn. Who do you think is ahead? France or Captain Traoré? Or is it still too early to decide? Leave your answer below before we reveal our verdict. So, did France fail Burkina Faso? The answer depends on how success is measured. If success is measured by military operation, France achieved important tactical victory. Its soldiers fought with courage. Many gave their lives trying to contain one of the world's most difficult security crises. That deserves recognition. But if success is measured by outcome, by whether Burkina Faso becomes more secure, whether confidence increases, whether the government believes this strategy should continue, then the picture becomes much more complicated. After nearly a decade, Burkina Faso chose another path. Whether that decision proved to be right or wrong, history will decide. Captain Traoré inherited a nation already facing an enormous challenge. In less than 4 years, he has redirected Burkina Faso towards a greater sovereignty, economic reform, and different vision for the country's future. Whether that vision succeeds will depend on one challenge above all others, and that's security. If security continues to improve, history may remember this period as the beginning of a new chapter. If it doesn't, history will reach a different verdict. Either way, history, not politics, will have the final say. If you have watched this far, thank you. You are exactly the reason I made documentary like these. If you believe more people should hear thoughtful decision about Africa's future, share this documentary with someone who enjoys serious geopolitical analysis. And now, one final question. Did France fail Burkina Faso? Or is the answer more complicated than either side admit? What grade would you give France? What grade would you give Captain Ibrahim Traoré? Tell me your grade in the comment. And more importantly, tell me why. If you enjoy documentary that challenge assumptions and follow the evidence wherever it leads, subscribe, turn on the notification, and join me for the next investigation. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next documentary.